Alright, hi everybody. It's me again, Dusty Bacon, back from the burn. Congratulations, you made it. What we're going to be doing today is washing our costumes off, dealing with the playa dust that's accumulated on all the things that we wore out there. For me, it's a pretty important step in the decompression process to introduce some order back into my own personal life with my personal belongings. You know, we have to reintegrate with our jobs and our families and friends that didn't go to the burn and everything else about society. And for me, it's a good way to start. So what I've got here are 3 bins. The first bin is the initial dunk, gets off most of the playa dust. Second bin, I've mixed in some distilled white vinegar, probably about a cup into this whole bin's worth of water. And then the last bin, it's the rinsing dunk where I rinse off the vinegar and a little bit more playa dust. Now I'm going to plan to refill these bins multiple times as they're going to get pretty muddy as I go through the process of cleaning. So I know I'm going to have to use more vinegar. I know I'm going to have to dump these out when they start to get dirty, and that's why I like to use clear bins. So I've got several piles of clothing here. This is definitely dunk and wash by hand, hang dry. A lot of outfits there. And there's some pieces in there that I'll be taking out to machine wash. And things like shoes. I've already hosed them off, sprayed them off, given them a quick spray, but I'm definitely going to dunk them in the vinegar water and possibly do some other cleaning to them as well. Here's some washing machine stuff. Here's a bunch of leather and fake leather that I'm probably just going to want to wipe off, not do the whole dunk thing on, not get too wet. Leather tends to degrade quicker if you wash off its natural oils. Here's a bunch of jackets. These are all going to get dunked. My computer bag's going to get dunked as well. Here's some things I haven't separated yet that are going to get either dunked or machine washed. And here's a bunch of machine washing stuff. A lot of synthetics. I'll wash it on cold, and I'll pour in vinegar into the bleach slot so that the vinegar is incorporated in the machine wash as well. Now some of the dirtier things, the more playa-fied things like furry boot covers, I like to spray those off before they even get in the initial dunk bin, because things like that will muddy up the water right away, even if they're the first thing in. So I either spray them off with a hose or make sure that they're kind of the last thing to get in there and change the water while I'm doing them. So here I've got one of the hoods that I really enjoyed wearing on the playa this year. Got some improvements planned for it, but right now I'm just going to go ahead and get it washed up. It's a good thing to go in first because it doesn't have a lot of playa dust on it. You kind of want to keep the water clean as long as you can. So here's that initial dunk, just to get some of the surface playa dust off. And into the vinegar. Really let it soak in there. Sometimes I just leave things sitting in here if they look a little too playa-fied. Definitely let it drip off. Let the vinegar go back in the vinegar water rather than into the rinsing water. And I'll often let them soak in here for a while too. Let all the vinegar go away. I'll usually just leave that one there, go get the next thing. Some stuff you forget that in the washing machine it spins out a lot of the water. You want to get a good amount of the water out before you hang it up to dry, especially if you're living in a wetter climate. So there you have it. As the sun sets slowly in the west, not so impossible. Took about 3.5 hours or so. I like to do my laundry So you might be worried about your fur or your L-wire, something like that. Worry about washing it. I can tell you right now, fur loves to be washed. As soon as it dries, which doesn't take long, it's fluffy, looking good as new. L-wire, you can go to Cool Neon site. It says it right on there that most L-wire works underwater. They sell a special marine L-wire if it's always going to be underwater. But L-wire, just make sure it's disconnected from the power source. Go ahead and wash it. Be careful of the connections because your physical bending of those connections and bending of the wire could damage it, but the water itself won't damage it. This Burning Man, my L-wire was submerged in water. It stopped working while it was wet, but as soon as it dried, in fact even as soon as it was moist, it started working again just fine. So don't worry about washing your L-wire. It can handle it just fine. As long as you're not going to be using it while it's wet, that'll be just fine. So yeah, fur, L-wire. The only thing you might want to be careful of is delicate things. You know, you glued the edge of something, you know, to some fabric with a hot glue gun. You know, that might break off in the water, or the water might cause the glue adhesive to come loose. So those are the kind of things you want to be careful of, but fur, L-wire, not a problem. I think I showed earlier, leather, you probably want to wipe down the leather with a baby wipe and then clean it with a leather cleaner if you care for it. That's about it. Don't worry about the fur or L-wire too much when you're washing.